Hey, what's up everybody? Troll Pal J-Gun, and tonight I decided to embark on a new project. I absolutely loved printing my little pit droid. He was the best, and we love him. And I needed something like that, something that would keep me occupied, and it is K-2SO. So, bought the files for K2, and it's a big project, and I'm gonna record a little bit of stuff along the way to take you along with me. I've got the legs mapped out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 plates just for the legs because I have a tiny printer. The files I bought online from the Droid Division Etsy store. Droid Division has files for lots of cute little robots, and I have bought a few of their droids and printed them, and I think they're fantastic. And for your purchase, your download will include all of the STLs and very detailed PDF instructions on how to build it. And before we get into the daily vlogs, I figured I'd talk a little bit about the setup and the supplies because people are going to ask. It's personal. It's up to you. You use whatever printer you want. If you do use the files from Droid Division, there are copies of them for small printers and for large printers. But here's what it was for me. It was a Bamboo X1 Carbon and 19 rolls of PLA+. The files are well organized into a folder for each major part of the body, so I ended up creating 6 projects for my slicer, and in total that resulted in 70 print jobs, and it took 33 days. I'm not going to get into the details of the nuts and the bolts and the aluminum rods and the construction of the skeleton, because if you're using the files from Droid Division, all of that is explained in detail in the instructions. I will go ahead and talk a little bit about surface prep since I get a lot of questions about this. You're going to go through enough sandpaper to make an angsty Jedi very upset. You're going to need a lot of filler primer. And then for painting, I do a base coat, typically in black. And for the final coat, I used BMW Sophisto Gray. It's 7 a.m. The first print is done. And Molly says, it's time to check the print. You want to come too? You can come in here? Come on. Come on. We're going to check the first print. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, we got feet. We got feet. Look, Molly, we got feet. Real quick, wanted to show you how well put together these STLs are. The way the ankle goes into each foot, it just feels brilliant. It's so nice. And wow, the surfaces mate so cleanly. Working on the upper knee joints, and they came out perfect, very flat, but when glued, the ends didn't want to mate very well, so they're getting the clamps, and that should solve it. And we're printing the thigh right now. Thigh. So one of the reasons I love the Bamboo Lab automated material system is it'll automatically switch spools. So we see this guy's about to run out, and we'll actually get to watch it run out.
Three hours later.
We are now pulling from Bay 2, and we are back in business. So good to know, once the spool runs out, you've got, potentially 6.5 minutes of filament still in the tubes. Of course, that depends on what you're printing and your print settings. And another print complete. Ah, look at that thigh. That is a right thigh. Here's our progress so far. Legs are pretty much done. Still waiting on the upper thigh for the left leg before I paint it, because I want to make sure it's fully assembled and primered and one piece. But that's it, coming along. So we are done with paint for the legs. These pieces have been, rough sanded, of course, and then lots of primer, and then sanded again, and then this is the final coat of paint. And another piece comes off the printer. And part of the right hip is done. The hips are finally done. My God, it was like 4 days of printing in my tiny little printer. But the hips are done. And, no, actually the hips aren't done. What am I saying? The hips are printed. But I'm gonna spend probably 3 or 4 days sanding, priming, etc., etc. But we have hips now. So with the hips done, we're now able to attach the legs. And this is the first time in the project you get a sense for how big this thing is. Yeah, his nuts are on my chin almost. So pretty cool. Wow, it's huge. I'm still sanding. Yeah. Okay, fam. Finally got this thing sanded enough to primer it. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna hold it for primering, but maybe this. Is that gonna work? I did a really good job with the sanding, I must say. The sanding came out amazing. It took all day, about 3 hours of sanding. 100 grit, 220 grit, 400 grit. Okay, time to prime. The good thing about these supports is they kind of just fall off. Oops. So, yeah. The primer has dried, and I have sanded this piece to mirror finish now with 800 grit, and it's time to put on a base coat. So put on a base coat of paint. And didn't take a video of the base coat, but it dried about 2 hours ago. Did a little bit more sanding at 800 grit, and this is the final coat. This is the BMW Sophisto Gray. Daily progress on K2. I finished post-production on the hips. Everything sanded to a nice metal finish. 800 grit on everything, painted. And yeah, I mean, there are things that I can notice, but they are things only I will notice. I don't think other people will notice them. So looking good there. And yeah. Hips are, I think, 10 separate prints, but I think I did a pretty good job with the welding. It looks nice and smooth. Torso is printed, so I need a break. I'm not gonna do anything more today, but tomorrow I will start post-production on the torso. I am done polishing the belly as much as I could. Did lots of sanding of different grits and then primer. And then I've been sanding it over 2 days. So this is, well, 3 days considering sanding pre-primer, but I'm exhausted. But I sanded the hell out of it down to 800 grit. So it's time for a base coat of paint. And there we go. Base coat just applied and it's drying. I'm happy. Anyways, I'm gonna let this dry for at least 24 hours. Lesson learned, even if the paint feels dry to your hands, don't do anything with it. Especially with primer, it'll feel dry, it'll feel like you can sand it, but don't. Because you just get clumps on your sandpaper and it shortens the life of your sandpaper, and you can't, like, that sandpaper is now dead and you have to go buy more. So For the primer especially, wait 24 hours before sanding. And for paints like these, I also recommend waiting 24 hours before sanding or applying another coat. Finally got our final paint on the belly. So it's time to work on some accent pieces. So that's what we're doing right now. So the belly is painted fully with its final coat. All it needs now is accent painting. And for accent painting, I am using graphite powder because as an artistic tool, it works good for me. I don't have to worry about learning how to use a paintbrush, and there's no brush strokes to worry about, and I can just rub it in with my finger, and it just gives everything a really beautiful metallic quality. So been working with the graphite powder for a while, and just get a little bit on my fingertip, and here we go, polishing K2's taint. So, and it's not, sometimes it's hard to stay in the lines, but that's okay. And make sure to rub it all the way in, otherwise whatever's left on the surface can become airborne, and I doubt you want to be breathing graphite dust. But yeah, works great for everything, in my opinion. And another print complete. I think this is part of the chest. Okay, there it is. So working on the belly still. We've got final paint on. Now we're just doing accent paint. And I actually don't even use paint for the accents. I'm using graphite powder. I learned to use it when printing Mandalorian helmets. So decided I would put it to use here on K2 also. That's it. You can see I already used it for all of these accents on the front. So it works out good. And you get to pick how bright it is just by how much you rub it in. Giggity. Anyways, been working on the belly for about a week, and that's fine because the chest is going to take about 2 weeks to print. So I've got nothing but time, but I am getting bored of working on the belly. So yeah, but that's it. That's it, belly progress. This is a belly progress update. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so it has to be perfect. Everything has to match exactly like the movie, because I'm not making a standard Imperial security droid. I am making K2, so I want it to look perfect and screen accurate. And I've probably already screwed some things up. So we'll see. We're getting there. And the major chest pieces are done. So time to glue the top to the bottom. Exciting times. Lots of glue. So for those of you that are intrigued and maybe going to build one of these K-2SO droids, this is kind of a cool aspect that I didn't really know how it would work until we're here. We are inside the interior of the chest cavity, and the pole, that's the belly pole, ends up here. So it's kind of just the 1-inch rod lines up in that little pine cone shaped thing. Sorry, I'm doing this with one hand. That's pretty cool. It's cool, I like it. It's a good design. And then we take this, and I probably can't do this. I probably can't do this with one hand. But put that in there, and hopefully we get it in the hole. And yeah, I definitely shouldn't be doing this with one hand, but something like that. Oof. Anyways, use two hands, people. But that's how it goes. How cool is that? How cool is that? How cool is that? How do I look up? How do I get in there? Anyways, cool stuff happening inside there. There it is. There it is. So good job, Dave, on how you took this really cool three-dimensional model and made it printable. Not only by figuring out how to slice the files, but giving it the ability to take an internal skeleton. So super cool. So K2 is sturdy AF. And anyways, yeah, good stuff. I'm ready to primer the chest today. And so I want to make sure I can get it off the ground. So built myself a little platform here. And we will be putting the chest on that to paint it. Today we are sanding the chest. The chest has been fully primered, so we're entering final sanding on the chest. But a lot of these little details need sanding, so it's all done by hand. Yay. The chest has its first coat of primer, and yeah, that's about where we are. I'm starting on the arms for printing. So arms are in the printer, and torso and shoulder are kind of ready to be post processed. So yeah, just in various states of sanding or primering, and it's looking good. This thing looks awesome. So I am excited. Am I excited? I'm excited. Oh my God, I am not left-handed. I don't know what goes in this hole. What goes in this hole? What is supposed to go in here? I don't know. But there's nothing there. Just goes inside. Yeah. We have some chest and arm parts that are ready for priming. They've been sanded, and we will get primer on them today. But also, what I plan to do later today is finally get some final paint on the chest. So I think the chest is ready. It's been sanded to 1000 grit. It's shiny, all the seams are gone, and I think it's time. It feels like a bowling ball, so time to finally do final paint on this bad boy. Well, the first coat of base, the base coat. The base coat! What do you think, Molly? Ready for base coat? Yeah. Well, the first coat of final paint is on the torso now. And today we're doing accent painting, and I am so terrible with brushes. I don't know how to paint with a brush. Trying acrylics today, but even with acrylics, still getting brush strokes. I don't understand. So what I did with the pit droid is after days of trying to figure out how to paint, I gave up. And I just took a rag and dipped the rag in acrylic paint, just rubbed it in. So I think I'm a rubbing guy. I think when it comes to painting, since I don't know how to paint with a brush, I'm gonna rub. I'm gonna be a guy who rubs. With these shoulder things, I'm doing chrome spray paint to start. And then after that, I'll probably rub them with graphite just to fill in some of the pores. Because even after 800 grit sanding, it's still a little bit porous. And the chrome spray paint has some fleck in it, and I kind of want the fleck to even out. So we'll see. He's finally starting to look like K2. I'm gonna fasten these shoulders now with 8 little screws from the inside. And that's gonna be fun. You can see all the little screws around the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyways, it's coming along. It's looking good. So both the shoulder rings are on, and it's time to finally put on these. And these go like this. You know, one goes in here, like that. And then the shoulder will go on the outside. And I secretly already put in the barrel nuts before assembly. It's hard to see with the light, but oh my God. How about I rest the camera on my fat belly? But they're in there. Can't really see, but anyways, trust me, it's gonna be rad. It's gonna be rad. I use the other end, but these are actually tight already, so I need the torque. Need the leverage of the long end. Don't want to hurt my delicate fingers. And right about now, these are sinking into 25mm barrel nuts that are, you know, baked into the object, if you could use the word baked in. Pretty cool, huh? I really love the way this all assembles. Got the shoulder brace bar in there, and everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. Sorry. And these little cool things go in like that. Boop. And that's gonna look super cool. Super amazing. And yeah. I won't glue it though until after I get the shoulder on, because I need to have some room to screw. Always leave room to screw, and then I'll glue it in. So let's get busy screwing. Thought I was done with the chest yesterday, but it's gonna take an extra day because you can't finish the chest without the biceps. Okay, now that the biceps are on, we can finally assemble the shoulder joint. So for the 3rd time, I am putting the hydraulics back in place. And you have to glue them in because, you know, the thing is, it'd be nice if you didn't have to. I would love to not glue these in and just leave them loose, because then I would always, you know, be able to get to these holes, right? But the problem is they don't stay. There's no friction fit. These discs, there's nothing to keep it in place. So you have to glue it, or it's just always falling out. Now here's the thing, in its final resting place, its final destination, it covers the screw hole. So if you don't glue it in, you're gonna have a dysfunctional droid Who's always sloppy. If you do glue it in, you block your ability to ever work on this joint ever again. So you're kind of just fucked if you do, fucked if you don't. But here we go for the third time. Printing the hands and wrists right now, and I just realized I must have accidentally left the slicer on grid. Of course, grid being probably the worst infill pattern you could choose. So I'm ashamed to realize that one little part of this guy is going to be grid infill. Oops. And all the little piggies are done. The fingers came out very nice. A little bit of sanding will be needed on the bottom sides, but nothing major. So I've just removed the supports for now, that's all. And I mean, they look good. Just doing some dry fit testing on the hands. They're really cool looking. I can't film and do stuff, so, but trust me, they look sick. The arms are coming along. I've got about half the pieces primered, but half the pieces haven't even been sanded yet. So we're getting there. A few more days of sanding, a few more days of primering. The hands look cool. I like these hands. This is it, fam. We are ready to finally paint the arms. Every part of the arm has been sanded to 800 grit and then primered and then waited a day and then sanded to 800 grit again. We are finally ready to start doing some painting. Just base coat today, but it's a big step because the lower arm was a ton of fucking parts. So we are finally ready to start painting and making cookies. And the base coat is applied. Let this dry for anywhere between 24 hours and 10 minutes before I start touching it and getting fingerprints embedded in all of it. Then I'll have to go through another round of sanding to get all the fingerprints out, and then start all over again. Cursing all the while because I am such an impatient person. I touch things before they're ready to be touched. And it's time to make the head. So while we're finishing up final painting on the body, we are cutting pipe for our head. And the head is done. While I'm painting the arms today, since the head is printed, I thought I should do a test fit. And how cool is that? Oh my God, finally seeing it with the head on. I mean, it's not sanded or primed or prepared or anything. And I couldn't put the little front piece on because it falls off, but how cool is that? It's like it's becoming a real thing. Anywho, just painting elbows and wrists right now. And here he is, fully assembled. He's not done. I have not sanded or painted the head. So I've still got a project ahead of me. Some people do the head as its own separate project and just have that like on their desk or something. But so the head will be another project. I'm hoping less than a week and a half of work. If I do electronics and lights, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But it's in place so we get an idea for what K2 looks like overall. And here he is. After 33 days of work, it is time to take a break, and the completion of the body marks a great stopping point. We will stop now for a few days, and temporarily I have relocated K2 into my office, where he can spend some time with his older brother, TR-84. That's it for this series of vlogs. Check back with me in a few weeks when hopefully I have a video about the head. Minimum, I will just process it and it'll look great, but I would really like to put some electronics in it and some LEDs and do some cool stuff. If you found this video at all useful, go ahead and like and subscribe, and you'll get a notification for when my next video comes out. Thank you.